There's a pattern that has destroyed every major empire in history. Not conquest, not invasion, not revolution. Economic collapse. Specifically, currency collapse. And it happens the exact same way every single time. Rome, the empire that ruled the known world for 5 centuries, collapsed when its currency became worthless. Spain, which controlled more gold and silver than any nation in history, went bankrupt repeatedly until its empire dissolved. Britain, which dominated global trade for 200 years, lost its empire within a decade after its currency collapsed. 4 times in recorded history, a dominant empire has followed this exact pattern. Military overextension, unsustainable spending, currency debasement or money printing, inflation, loss of confidence, collapse. And every time, the people in power believed they were different, that their empire was special, that the old rules didn't apply to them. They were wrong, every single time. And right now in 2025, the United States is following that exact same pattern. Step by step, warning sign by warning sign. The only question is whether we're near the beginning, the middle, or the end. This is the story of how empires destroy themselves through their own currency. How it happened to Rome, Spain, and Britain, and why every warning sign says it's happening again. Let's start with Rome, the empire that dominated Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East for over 500 years. At its peak, Rome controlled 60 million people across 3 continents. Its military was unmatched. Its infrastructure was the most advanced on Earth. Its currency, the denarius, was trusted everywhere, from Britain to Egypt. The denarius was a silver coin introduced in 211 BC. It contained about 4.5 grams of pure silver. For centuries, it held its value because the Roman government maintained its purity. When you received a denarius, you knew exactly what you were getting. Pure silver, real value. This created trust, and trust allowed Rome to fund its expansion, pay its soldiers, and build its infrastructure. But empires are expensive. Every generation, Rome's borders expanded. Every expansion required more soldiers, more forts, more roads, more administration. And eventually, more money than Rome actually had. So they did what every empire does when it spends more than it earns. They debased the currency. Emperor Nero, ruling from 54 to 68 AD, was the first to significantly reduce the silver content of the denarius. He needed to fund his lavish lifestyle and expensive military campaigns, so he ordered the mints to reduce the silver content from 100% to 90%. That extra 10%, pure profit for the emperor. He could mint 11 coins with the silver that used to make 10, more coins in circulation. Same amount of silver, that's inflation. But 90% silver was still substantial. The real destruction came later. By the time Emperor Caracalla ruled in 211 AD, the denarius was down to 50% silver, half real value, half base metal. By 265 AD, under Emperor Gallienus, it had fallen to just 5% silver. A coin that was once pure silver was now 95% worthless metal.
In 1933, President Roosevelt ended the gold standard for citizens and made it illegal to own large portions of gold. In 1934, the dollar was officially devalued. The government raised the value of gold from $20 up to $35 per ounce, meaning each dollar was worth less gold. In 1971, President Nixon ends the gold standard entirely. He even stopped allowing gold conversion. From that moment on, the US dollar became fiat money. That basically means it has value because the government says it has value and not because it's tied to gold. So over the last 100 years, the US dollar has lost roughly 90 to 95% of its purchasing power. So essentially, what cost $1 in 1925 costs between $17 and $20 today. The bottom line is, our dollar, which used to be backed by gold, is now only backed by trust in the government. And honestly, how much trust do any of us have in the government? We're headed for disaster, and all these other countries that are doing business with us see the writing on the wall.
This is no longer about us, honestly. I think it's too late, but it's about our generations to come. Your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. There is a company called Cognify. If you Google it and watch their video, and it's the future of incarceration, it's what it's titled. With this Cognify system, let's say you do a crime, or maybe you act out against the government, or you have a belief system that is not consistent with the country that you live in, and you are prosecuted for a crime by their definition. You will then get an opportunity to choose. Let's just use this for hypothetical. A measly petty theft. You can spend 50 years in prison, or you can go through the Cognify process, which in 3 minutes, they will imprint memory sets. So let's say there was someone who was even harmed by the crime that you did. You will be able to feel the emotions of your victim, the emotions that the family members went through, all of that. You will be forced to have the empathy, and you will feel like you've been imprisoned for 25 years or whatever it may be, but it's only 3 minutes.
This is Black Mirror type stuff.
Yes, so it's only 3 minutes. And I'm not joking. You watch it and it will just blow you away. But remember, they say this is for the goodness of society. Okay, would you trust your government with your memory sets?
I remember talking about this technology about a year ago, and back then they were claiming that they could give you this virtual prison sentence experience, that you could go in and sit in a chair and put this helmet on for 15 or 20 minutes and walk out feeling like you had spent 30 years behind bars. But if they can alter your feelings, I'd rather spend the real 30 years in prison. If there's one thing we have to protect at all cost, it's our freedom of thought. We cannot allow the government access to manipulate our thought processes. Once they do that, you won't even care that you're under their control. They'll just remove any feelings of resistance and make you the world's most compliant little citizen. And without the ability to think for ourselves, what is the point to existence? This is highly unethical, and I think it needs to be shut down. There's just too much room for potential abuse. And given how bad these people want to control everything that we think, say, and do, there's no way they wouldn't take advantage of this. Hey, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to drop your theories and your comments in the comments section down below.
This company is changing advertising forever, and most people haven't even noticed. Tencent, one of China's biggest tech giants, is quietly doing something wild. Instead of interrupting movies with ads, they're embedding the ads inside of the movie using AI. Let's say a character picks up a coffee cup. Tencent's AI scans the scene and digitally slaps on a logo, like Starbucks or even a local brand in your area. It's based on who you are, your location, your habits, your vibe. The advertising is personalized to you. It builds a profile on who you are and what you like, then sends in subtle adverts. You don't even realize they're there. It's the same movie, it's the same scene, it's just different ads for every viewer. And it doesn't even stop at coffee cups. Billboards in the background, changed. Posters on the wall, swapped. Even beer bottles and bus stops are fair game. Tencent has already rolled this out to millions of users on its streaming platform, teaming up with a UK company called Myriad. They're inserting these virtual ads into classic films and brand new drama series. And advertisers are loving it because it works. So it's spreading fast. Amazon, NBC, and others are testing the same thing right now. No more disruptive ads, no skipping, just seamless, invisible product placement made just for you. It's happening right now in TV shows you're watching and you didn't even know.
This is pretty clever. I'm not really sure how I feel about it though. On the one hand, it would be nice to watch a show and not get interrupted with ads right when you get to the good part of the story. But on the other hand, they'll probably go so overboard with this that it'll end up being just as distracting as the original ad format. For example, I highly doubt that they'll consider the context of the content before they place an ad into it. They'll just place a product into a shot anywhere that they can fit it. So you're likely going to have films that are absolutely ruined by this. And sometimes you see a product placement that's actually pivotal to the story, like a character that's supposed to be super wealthy so they only use very specific high-end products, or you see a character using a specific product because it's written into that character that they like that specific product for a very specific reason, like they drink a certain soda because it was a favorite drink of their deceased loved one or something. But I could totally see them just swapping out products on a whim because they don't care about our entertainment. All they care about is influencing our purchasing decisions, regardless of how it affects the content. This is probably going to yield some pretty funny results, though. It's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. But if I had to guess, I'm betting they'll incorporate this somehow, but still keep the traditional advertising. I highly doubt that they're going to get rid of commercials. I'm betting that's just something that they're heavily implying to get people to not complain too much about them rolling this out.
So over 40 million people are about to lose their SNAP benefits on November 1st due to the government shutdown, but why does this feel like a setup? Now let me slow walk you through this whole situation, starting with Walmart, because people are saying on the 1st they're going to raid Walmart because they don't have food stamps. Now keep in mind, Walmart makes over $3 billion a year on the SNAP benefit program, which is 25% of the entire program annually. Which is pretty interesting, being that they are one of the sponsors for the No Kings protests, in which other globalists were actually funding the No Kings protests like Ford, the Rockefeller Foundation, George Soros, just to name a few. But Walmart makes over $600 billion, so $3 billion is a drop in the bucket. So who really benefits and what's really going on? I mean, not only it's about money, which it is, because Walmart lost over $20 billion over the last 5 days, which could be a great opportunity for insiders to buy a cheaper stock. But it's about power and control as well. Could it be that all these corporations, big tech, billionaires want to induce civil unrest to implement a digital ID? Because out of chaos comes order. I mean, you have Bill Gates and Larry Ellison all pushing for a digital ID, in which right now is a New World Order situation in the UK, in which their problems is based on immigration, which easily can be induced to implement a digital ID. And guess which group has 60% of their group on SNAP benefits? Immigrants. Immigrants do, and they know this, so it seems like we're being played from both sides. I mean, it would be kind of crazy. Companies like Amazon plan to lay off over 500,000 jobs over the next 5 years due to AI automation, crushing the middle class, causing civil unrest. Not to mention, UPS just cut 48,000 jobs today. So the question is all this orchestrated so we're worrying about SNAP benefits and immigration being separated, black, white, all while they're building a New World Order situation for us? Could be. All the while, we still don't have an Epstein list, which is probably a distraction on top of a distraction at this point.
The only pushback I can really give on this is the timeline doesn't add up. The No Kings protest being funded by Walmart can't be directly tied to the EBT getting cut off. The No Kings protest was being funded by Walmart long before anyone even thought about the government getting shut down. Unless, of course, they've been planning this for half a year, which is very likely possible. But I think it's more likely that Walmart just didn't foresee this cut in revenue when they started funding organized civil unrest. When you fund chaos, though, you deserve to lose billions of dollars. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this guy's incorrect that these motives exist. It's pretty obvious that this is what the entirety of the elite class is wanting. Besides that, the government's greatest trick is to create a problem so that they can sell you the solution. I'm just saying I highly doubt that Walmart knew months in advance before it happened that the government was going to get shut down and that all these people were going to lose their EBT benefits.
A few weeks ago, allegedly, BlackRock just bought 50,000 homes at $300,000 each, then sold 3 to themselves for $700K. Your neighbor's value just doubled overnight and you can't afford to live there anymore. They're stealing the American dream because BlackRock step one, how they do this, they identify middle-class neighborhoods with growth potential, right? Step 2, they buy hundreds of homes in cash, 20 to 30% above asking price. Imagine being that guy putting your on listing and it's like, oh no, we'll buy it for 30% more. I ain't saying no to that. I'm out that neighborhood. Imagine the HOA screwing you over and you're like, I'm out of here. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, peace.
Step 3, regular families can't compete with unlimited corporate cash. Why? Because step 4, once they control enough inventory, they sell a few homes to shell companies that they already own. Step 5, those inflated sale prices become the new market rate. Step 6, your property taxes, and this is where it gets crazy, your property taxes triple based on these fake sales. So the family that saved for 10 years to buy their first home, outbid by a corporation with infinite money. The elderly couple who owned their home for 40 years, forced out by property taxes they can't afford. Meanwhile, and this is where all the good money comes in for them, BlackRock rents these homes back to the same families they priced out. The rent is $2,500 monthly. The former mortgage payment would have been $1,800. They created the problem.
All right, real estate agents.
I knew that BlackRock was buying up all these residential homes and then jacking up the prices, but the way the process is explained here is pretty eye-opening. I think the only way we could defend ourselves against something like this is to start tracking those sales. We need to stop calculating those home sale prices into the cost of new listings. We should also completely do away with property taxes. Spending 30 years paying off a mortgage only to have the city come in and seize your property because they feel they're entitled to some of your money is government theft. There should be no circumstance where the government can just come in and lay claim to someone else's personal property. That would fix a big part of this, though. And if they did do away with property taxes, that would eliminate a major perk for BlackRock. They should also put a cap on the number of homes that an organization can purchase if they're not headquartered in that state. This is no different than China or Bill Gates buying up all the country's farmland. They have no interest in the well-being of those communities, so they shouldn't be allowed to buy everything. anything. Unfortunately, the only way to really protect yourself from something like this at the moment is to move into an extremely rural area, somewhere where there are no neighborhoods for them to do this in. We certainly need to restructure some of these laws, though.
They said it would never happen. They laughed when Trump said that he would abolish the IRS. But here we are, October 2025, and folks, it is actually happening. Phase 1 was cutting their funding. Phase 2, shutting it down from the inside. The IRS is collapsing, 25,000 employees gone, programs frozen, audits canceled, while Trump's new tariff revolution is bringing in record money from foreign nations. And that's the part that they don't want you to know. Because for decades, the IRS didn't just collect your taxes, the IRS controlled you, your paycheck, your business, your bank account, they owned it all. But now, the power is slipping away, and the same global elites who thought that they would own America forever are in full-blown panic mode. Trump's one big beautiful bill is rewriting the entire tax code, flipping the system upside down. No more taxing your overtime, no more taxing your tips, and if phase 3 rolls out the way that insiders are saying that it will, you might be looking at the beginning of the end of income tax as we know it. So buckle up, guys, because in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how President Trump's IRS shutdown just hit phase 2, why tariff revenue is exploding today, and why Washington insiders are terrified that for the first time in 100 years, the money is flowing back into the American people. Guys, this is not hype. This is history in the making, and it's unfolding right now. Let's go ahead and break it down. So here's where it gets wild. President Trump's IRS shutdown plan just moved into phase 2, and Washington, D.C. is absolutely losing its ever-loving mind. 25,000 IRS employees gone. Entire audit programs frozen. Regional offices shuttered. And if you think that's an exaggeration, think about it. The budget for the IRS has been slashed so deeply that even internal memos are calling it an operational reset. What President Trump promised on the campaign trail, abolish the IRS, that's not a soundbite anymore, okay? This is policy in motion, and you can feel the panic that's rippling through the deep state today. The bureaucrats who built their careers controlling the American taxpayer, they're suddenly watching their empire collapse in real time. You see, phase 1 was the setup. Cut the spending, work with the Doge team, cut the head count, expose the waste. But phase 2, that is the kill switch, shifting the entire tax foundation from your paycheck and onto foreign imports. Now, the best part, President Trump's not doing this quietly. He's taunting them with receipts, literally showing the public how America is collecting more money than ever without even touching your income. Yeah, folks, it is happening faster than Washington ever expected. And I guess we may actually have Elon Musk and the Doge team, the Department of Government Efficiency, to thank. Now, here's the genius behind it, okay? For decades, Americans were told, you work, you earn, you pay. That was the system. But President Trump just flipped the game. He called it the External Revenue Service. The idea that foreign nations, not American workers, should fund our government through tariffs and trade balances. And guess what? In 2025 alone, the US is on track to rake in nearly $300 billion in tariff revenue. This is the highest in our nation's history. China, Mexico, the EU, they are all paying into America's ledger every time their goods cross our ports. And those dollars, they're replacing the very revenue stream that the IRS used to strangle from your paycheck. Now, the media called it impossible. Economists said that it would crash global trade, but instead it's creating what President Trump calls America's self-funding engine. Phase 1 proved tariffs work. Phase 2 rewires the system, automating collections at customs, scaling digital oversight, and shrinking the IRS to a skeleton crew. Now, this isn't just tax reform. This is economic warfare, and President Trump's winning it without firing a single shot.
This all sounds great, but there's still a lot of work that's going to have to be done before they can even consider shuttering the IRS. In 2024, there was almost $2.5 trillion paid in from individual income tax, and that was only around 49% of the entire revenue for the federal government. However, considering how much money we send overseas, and considering how much we overpay for literally every aspect of running the government because of all the middlemen that stick their dirty hands in the funding, and considering just how bloated the federal government is, this could be done. They just need to get rid of all the jobs that aren't necessary. They need to completely restructure the way they've set up funding for the military. We need to stop funding the lavish lifestyles of all of these politicians. We need to stop politicians from insider trading so they aren't basing laws on how it's going to affect their stock prices. And the biggest thing is we need actual oversight on how all this revenue is being spent. There are just too many people dipping their dirty hands in the pool. I will say though, there's been considerably more progress made on this effort than I ever thought I would see in my lifetime. I'd like to see them moving faster on this, but at least it appears we're headed in the right direction.
Alright, this is very interesting. Check this out. Something is happening in Jamaica right now. Most people are focused on the hurricane, but behind the scenes there is another kind of storm brewing. A digital one. And I'm not saying that any of this is connected, but check this out. Okay, so right before this hurricane exploded into a Category 5 in under 18 hours, one of the fastest intensifications ever recorded, Jamaica announced plans to transform Kingston into a smart city, and it's all part of the Vision 2030 Jamaica, a multi-billion-dollar program to rebuild, modernize and digitalize the whole island. I mean, come on, a digital island. Data-driven control, automated enforcement, CCTV on every corner, AI-based infrastructure, and even foreign funding flowing from the US. Now just think about this for a second. A $5 billion project, new digital districts, smart energy grids, centralized management systems, all being set up right now, and then suddenly the worst storm in years sweeps straight across the region. Could this all just be a coincidence? Maybe it is, but it does make you wonder how often disaster and development seem to arrive together, and how easily people just accept total surveillance when it's packaged as control safety. Ultimately though, smart cities are being drawn up all over the world. Jamaica is not alone with this, from Africa to Asia, from the Caribbean all the way to Europe, each one promising efficiency, sustainability and security. But the fine print always includes the same thing: monetarization, automation and control. All I'm saying is, right now, beautiful people, when the world rebuilds, who really designs the future? So, as they're going to now have to rebuild Kingston after the storm, just keep your eyes open, watch who funds these projects and watch what data they collect, because sometimes the story's not in the disaster, it's what gets built after. And I'm not telling you what to think, I'm just saying to think.
Just how many more of these natural disasters are going to have to take place where there always seems to be a plan for a smart city, and where the powers that be always seem to reap massive reward for the outcome before the majority of the population wakes up to what's actually going on here? What's going to end up getting us all imprisoned in the end is just the sheer volume of people who are going about their daily lives buying the narrative and not even thinking twice about it. Take the Palisades fires in California, for example. There's been so much exposed about how that whole situation played out. It's infuriating that we haven't seen anyone jailed over it yet. But I still hear people arguing that it was just an unfortunate series of bad circumstances. And now, here we are again, staring down another natural disaster that just so happens to be in the location where they want to demolish everything and build their new open-air prison system. And this whole situation has the potential to get much worse. Just watch this next clip.
You missed the video yesterday where I was explaining how our government has the ability to steer hurricanes, and not just steer them, it has the ability to destroy them. I want you to pay attention to this video because this Hurricane Melissa right here is a Category 5, and just look at this thing. It's an absolute monster, and it looks almost like it's such a massive Category 5 hurricane. Hurricane is literally bigger than the entire country of Jamaica, and we give Jamaica billions of dollars in foreign aid. You gotta ask yourself, why in the hell would our government, with the ability to destroy a monster like this, allow it to make landfall and kill millions of people? Like, ask yourself that question.
They are manipulating the weather like crazy. And one of the ways they do it is this operation in Alaska called HARP, which fires high power radio waves from into the ionosphere and has weather effects. Now, we've had these extremes of weather, floods, droughts. When we have these extremes of weather, they say it's because the jet stream has moved from where it normally is. This guy, Bernard Eastland, who wrote many of the patents for the HARP project, said that HARP can steer the jet stream. And this is what Dr. Richard Day said in 1969. The weather will be modified and used as a weapon of war to create drought or famine. And what is happening as these people are forced off the land through all these things? The major corporations are buying up that land in massive, massive quantities.
Bottom line is the denial of this is so patently absurd at this point. Of course they're manipulating these storms, Mike. And if people would do some research and go back to Project Cirrus in 1947, the official beginning of the manipulation of cyclonic rotations, and understand that even then, with very minimal interference, the dropping of a dozen kilos of dry ice into a storm, it had a very notable and detrimental effect. What can they do now when we have KC-135s that can carry 100 tons of materials into a storm and then manipulate that with the frequency transmissions. So the bottom line is, we know also, Mike, and this is something people should consider, patented hurricane suppression technologies have existed for decades. At minimum, even if people pretend they're not manipulating and steering these storms, which they are, they certainly have the ability to make or break them anytime they want, and they're certainly not doing that unless they're near oil infrastructure, in which case they do it, because we see that it's miraculous how the Gulf of Mexico oil pumping infrastructure is missed again and again and again from any cyclonic rotation. So that should be an indicator that they clearly have sway over these storms. Bottom line is, people need to wake up.
The craziest part about this is not only do they have the ability to destroy them, they have the ability to steer them. So right now, this is supposed to go back out into the Atlantic Ocean. I have a feeling it's going to make a hard left turn and come right back here towards America. Because why? Our government's favorite saying, never let a good crisis go to waste, right?
What I'm about to say is pure speculation, and I really hope that I'm not correct. But what if this thing does turn left and hit Florida? Look at this list I found of future planned smart cities. No one but the controllers want these smart cities. And how hard is it going to be for the government to go into these areas and convince all of the residents there to sell their property so they can build them? It's going to be nearly impossible. Even if the majority of a population agrees on selling their property in a specific area, there are always holdouts, people who can't be swayed by any amount of money. But how convenient would it be for the government if these people had no homes left to sell? If all they had was just a destroyed piece of land that the government could seize, then they just throw a few $1,000s at these people, giving them like a percentage of what their home used to be worth before this hurricane destroyed it. And think of the money that these people save on demolition if a natural disaster comes in and does the job for them. All they have to worry about at that point is cleanup, and a large portion of that is usually taken care of by kind-hearted volunteers who think they're helping these people in this community rebuild their lives. This has happened too many times at this point to just be a coincidence. And if they have the ability to stop these things, why do we ever get hit with hurricanes at all? They shouldn't even be something we have to worry about anymore. But seriously, could you imagine how great this world would be if the people who we elected to look out for our better interests actually looked out for our better interests? Every day I'm convinced just a little bit more that we must be living in Satan's little season. How in the world are these disgustingly evil people in charge of absolutely everything? But don't lose hope. There are some really good things happening still. We've all just got to make sure we keep our heads up and our eyes open. We've still got a ways to go before they reach the end stages. There's still a chance that we can stop all of this. We just have to stay diligent. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow with another one. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to drop your theories and your comments in the comment section down below. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day. And I will see you all tomorrow.